Vincent Barrett stared at the framed photo on his desk. He and Melissa at her high school graduation, both smiling. It had been just the two of them since Diana's death 6 years ago. The day he married Diana, he made a promise to love her daughter Melissa as his own, and when cancer took Diana 3 years later, he kept that promise. Mr. Barrett? Your 3 o'clock is here. His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Vincent straightened his tie and cleared his throat. Barrett Construction had become one of Philadelphia's most successful development firms under his leadership, a leadership style that brooked no weakness and tolerated no betrayal. A reputation as a ruthless businessman had its advantages in this industry. His competitors feared him. His employees respected him. Send them in. The door opened to reveal a striking woman with auburn hair and piercing green eyes. She extended her hand confidently. Mr. Barrett? I'm Helen Mercer from Astoria Interior Design. Something about her smile made Vincent pause momentarily before taking her hand. It was calculating, almost predatory, yet undeniably magnetic. Ms. Mercer, your portfolio impressed me. Let's discuss how your firm can handle the Riverside Tower project. 3 hours later, they were still talking, no longer about business. Helen was captivating, intelligent, and seemed genuinely interested in everything about him. It had been years since Vincent had felt this kind of connection. I should go, Helen said, glancing at her watch. But I've enjoyed this conversation more than any business meeting I've had in years. Vincent found himself asking, would you like to continue it over dinner? Her smile widened. I'd like that very much. Their courtship was a whirlwind. Helen fit into Vincent's world seamlessly, charming his business associates, showing interest in his work, and even attempting to bond with Melissa. But Melissa, now 19 and in her second year at Penn State, remained distant. You barely know her, Dad, Melissa insisted during one of her weekend visits home. Something feels off about her. The way she looks at your things when she thinks no one's watching. That's enough, Vincent said firmly. Helen makes me happy. I thought you'd want that for me. I do, Melissa replied, her voice softening. But not at any cost. Looking back later, Vincent would remember the way Melissa's eyes had hardened. The same expression Diana would get when she knew something no one else did and was figuring out what to do about it. 3 months after meeting Helen, Vincent proposed. That night, he received a text from Melissa. We need to talk before the wedding. It's important. But when he called, she did not answer. The Barrett estate sat on 2 acres in Philadelphia's Main Line district, a stone mansion that had been in Vincent's family for generations. The wedding preparations transformed the gardens into a fairy tale setting, but tension hung in the air like the storm clouds gathering on the horizon. Vincent found Melissa in the library, staring out the window. She arrived only an hour before the ceremony was set to begin, ignoring his calls for days. You're finally here, he said, closing the door behind him. Melissa turned slowly. I almost did not come. What's going on with you? This should be a happy day. I found something, Dad, about Helen. Melissa pulled out her phone. She's not who she says she is. I hired someone, Vincent cut her off. You, what? You investigated my fiancé? Because I care about you. Melissa's voice rose. Her design firm only existed for 8 months before you met. Before that, there's almost no trace of her. And there's more. A knock interrupted them. Mr. Barrett? It's time, the wedding planner called through the door. Vincent looked at his stepdaughter, torn between anger and concern. We'll talk about this later. Whatever you think you found, it'll be too late by then, Melissa whispered. She grabbed his arm. Dad, please. Do not marry her. For a moment, Vincent hesitated. In 6 years, Melissa had never steered him wrong. But Helen had brought light back into his life after years of loneliness. I love her, Melissa. I'm sorry you not accept that. The ceremony proceeded under darkening skies. As Vincent spoke his vows, lightning flashed behind the glass walls of the garden pavilion. Helen's smile never wavered. But once, just once, when the justice of the peace asked if anyone objected, her eyes flicked toward Melissa with something that looked almost like triumph. At the reception, Vincent noticed Melissa speaking intently with his longtime friend and family attorney, Calvin Thorne. Calvin had been skeptical about the speed of the relationship from the beginning. When Vincent approached them, they fell silent. Enjoying the party? He asked, unable to keep the edge from his voice. Calvin clapped him on the shoulder. Just catching up with Melissa. College treating you well? I'm switching to cybersecurity, Melissa said, looking directly at Vincent. I've discovered I have a talent for finding what people try to hide. Vincent opened his mouth to respond when Helen appeared at his side, slipping her arm through his. There you are, husband. Our first dance is in 5 minutes. She nodded politely to Melissa and Calvin. Excuse us, will not you? As Helen led him away, Vincent glanced back to see Melissa watching them with tears in her eyes. Later that night, as the last guests departed, Vincent caught sight of Melissa slipping something into the pocket of his jacket where it hung in the cloakroom. By the time he reached the jacket, she was gone. In the pocket was a USB flash drive with a handwritten label, "Watch me." He almost confronted her immediately but stopped himself. It was his wedding night. Whatever this was, it could wait until morning. Vincent woke to an empty bed. A note on Helen's pillow read, "Gone for a morning run. Did not want to wake you. Love, H." The flash drive sat on his bedside table where he'd placed it the night before, its presence like a splinter in his mind. In his home office, Vincent inserted the drive into his computer. A single video file appeared. The timestamp showed it was recorded 3 days ago while he was in Chicago closing a deal. The video showed the interior of his home, specifically the hallway leading to Melissa's bedroom. Helen entered the frame, looking cautiously around before approaching Melissa's door. In her hand was what appeared to be a small bottle. She entered the room and closed the door behind her. The video ended. Vincent replayed it, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. What was in the bottle? What had Helen been doing in Melissa's room? He checked the video properties. It had been recorded by one of his home security cameras. Cameras Helen had not known about until after they were engaged. The front door opened and closed. Helen was back. Vincent quickly ejected the drive and slipped it into his pocket. "Good morning, husband," Helen said as she entered the office, glowing from her run. She bent to kiss him, but he turned his face slightly so her lips brushed his cheek instead. "You were in Melissa's room while I was in Chicago," he said, watching her face carefully. "Why?" The flicker in Helen's eyes was almost imperceptible. "What?" "Oh, I was just leaving her a wedding gift, a family heirloom from my grandmother. I wanted it to be a surprise." The lie came so smoothly that had Vincent not seen the video, he might have believed her. "That's interesting because Melissa mentioned she has not been back to her room since before I left for Chicago." Helen's smile tightened. "Well, I left it on her desk. Maybe she did not notice it." "What was in the bottle, Helen?" Her expression changed then, the mask slipping to reveal something cold underneath. "What bottle, Vincent? What are you talking about?" Vincent pulled out his phone and showed the text from Melissa he'd just received. "Do not worry, Dad. I'll handle this. Whatever game you replaying, it's over," he said, standing. "I want you out of my house." Helen's laugh was nothing like the warm sound he'd fallen in love with. "Your house?" "Oh, Vincent, you should have read the prenup more carefully." "What are you talking about?" "The prenup protected my assets." "The prenup your friend Calvin prepared?" "Yes. The one you actually signed had a few modifications." Her smile widened. "Check your copies." "Go ahead." Vincent strode to his safe, dialing the combination with shaking fingers. The prenuptial agreement was where he'd left it, but as he scanned the pages, his blood ran cold. Somehow, the terms had been altered. According to this document, in the event of a divorce initiated by him for any reason other than provable adultery, Helen would receive 50% of his assets, including the family home. "How did you?" Vincent asked, his voice shaking with anger. "Technology is a wonderful thing," Helen said, leaning against the doorframe. "Almost as wonderful as having an accomplice who can use it." Vincent's mind raced. Calvin would not. Not Calvin. Though he was embarrassingly easy to distract while the real documents were swapped. She stepped into the room, all pretense gone. "You know, for a man with your reputation, you're surprisingly trusting. Your first wife warned me about that." Vincent froze. "What did you just say?" "Diana and I were old friends. She told me all about you. Your weaknesses, your habits, your fortune." Helen's voice hardened. "She also told me how you cut her out when she wanted a divorce. How she had to fight for every penny of what should have been hers." "Diana died of cancer," Vincent said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Did she? Is that what the doctors told you?" Cancer is such a convenient diagnosis when someone's being slowly poisoned. Vincent launched himself across the room, grabbing Helen by the throat and shoving her against the wall. "You lying." Helen did not struggle, did not even look afraid. "Kill me and you'll never know the truth. And you'll go to prison, leaving poor Melissa with nothing." She glanced at his hand around her throat. "Is that what you want?" Vincent released her, stepping back as if burned. His mind was reeling. Could Diana's death not have been natural? Was Helen implying what he thought she was? "What did you put in Melissa's room?" he demanded. Helen straightened her collar. "Insurance. The same thing I used on Diana, as a matter of fact. Untraceable in small doses." But Melissa found the bottle before I could finish the job. Smart girl. Shame she has to go. Vincent's blood turned to ice. If you've hurt her, not yet, Helen said casually. But accidents happen. Especially to troublesome college students who know too much. The bedroom door opened behind them. Helen turned smoothly, reaching into her pocket as she did. Looking for this? Melissa stood in the doorway holding up a small glass bottle. Behind her was a man Vincent had never seen before. Helen's expression faltered for the first time. Dominic? What are you doing here? The man, Dominic, stepped forward, looking uncomfortable. It's over, Helen. I see not do this anymore. Vincent looked between them, understanding dawning. You re-accomplice, I presume. Melissa nodded. Dominic Sawyer. Helen's lover and partner in crime. She held up her phone. And he's been recording this entire conversation. Every confession. Every threat. Helen lunged for the door, but Vincent moved faster, blocking her exit. Her hand emerged from her pocket, holding a small revolver which she pointed at Vincent's chest. Move, or I'll finish what I started with Diana right now, she snarled. No one saw Melissa move until it was too late. The heavy crystal paperweight from Vincent's desk connected with the back of Helen's head with a sickening crack. Helen crumpled to the floor, the gun clattering beside her. She's dead. Dominic stared in horror. She's unconscious, Melissa said calmly, checking Helen's pulse. Unfortunately for her. Vincent looked at his stepdaughter with new eyes. In that moment, she reminded him so much of Diana, not the sickly woman who had withered away in their bed, but the fierce, brilliant woman he had married. What did you mean? Do not worry, Dad. I'll handle this, he asked. Melissa's smile was cold. I meant exactly that. I've been handling it since I first suspected what she was doing. She nodded to Dominic. He's been helping me for the past month once I showed him proof that Helen killed my mother. Vincent turned to Dominic, who looked like he might be sick. And why would you betray your partner? Because I did not sign up for murder, Dominic said quietly. Con jobs, identity theft, sure, but not murder. And when Melissa showed me what Helen did to her mother, what she was planning for both of you, he shook his head. There are lines even I would not cross. Vincent processed this information slowly, a calm settling over him, a deadly calm that anyone who had crossed him in business would have recognized as the prelude to total destruction. Call Calvin, he told Melissa, tell him to bring the police, tell him everything. He looked down at Helen's unconscious form. But first, let me tell you both what we're going to do next. The interview room at the Philadelphia Police Department was deliberately uncomfortable, with hard chairs, harsh lighting, and the faint smell of disinfectant. Vincent sat across from Detective Miranda Patel, his face a mask of controlled grief and shock. Let me understand this correctly, Detective Patel, Vincent said, reviewing her notes. You were saying your wife of less than 24 hours attempted to murder your stepdaughter, confessed to killing your first wife, and then attacked you with a gun. Yes, Vincent replied. And it's all on the recording Melissa and Mr. Sawyer made. Patel's expression remained skeptical. A recording that conveniently captures a full confession. There's nothing convenient about any of this, Calvin Thorne, sitting beside Vincent, intervened. My client has provided you with the recording, the weapon, and Mr. Sawyer's testimony. Ms. Barrett Mercer is currently in the hospital under guard, unable to provide her version of events. I suggest you focus on the evidence rather than implying some conspiracy. Patel leaned forward. The evidence is problematic, Mr. Thorne. The timing of all this, one day after the wedding with a prenuptial agreement that would significantly benefit Ms. Barrett Mercer in a divorce, raises questions about motive. Are you suggesting I orchestrated an elaborate scheme to frame my new wife rather than simply not marrying her? Vincent asked coldly. The rain-slicked streets reflected the harsh glow of the city lights, casting an eerie glow over the scene. Vincent stared out at the wet pavement, his mind racing with the implications of what he had just learned. Do you believe Melissa's story? Vincent asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. That she suspected Helen from the beginning and managed to turn Dominic against her? Calvin hesitated, choosing his words carefully. Melissa is her mother's daughter. Perceptive, determined, and fiercely protective of you. You did not answer my question. I believe she is telling the truth as she sees it. Whether that aligns with objective reality remains to be seen. Calvin sighed, his expression grave. Vincent, the police will be watching you closely. Whatever you replanning, I'm not planning anything, Calvin, Vincent replied, his voice flat. I'm the victim here. Calvin's expression made it clear he did not believe that for a second. Just remember that revenge is rarely worth the cost. Vincent smiled thinly. Who said anything about revenge? This is about justice. At home, Vincent found Melissa waiting in his study. The room had been scrubbed clean. No sign of the confrontation remained. The police have doubts, he said without preamble. Melissa nodded. I expected that. Dominic is sticking to the story. Is it a story, Melissa? Or the truth? Her eyes met his steadily. You saw the video. You heard her confession. I did. I also know the prenup was altered. Altered so skillfully that even I did not notice when I reviewed it. Vincent poured himself a scotch. That's Dominic's work, I assume? Yes. And you turned him against Helen, how exactly? Melissa hesitated. I found him first. Before I knew about Helen's plan for us. I was investigating her background and discovered Dominic. I confronted him privately, showed him what ID found about Mom's death. Which was what? Hair samples ID saved from before she got sick. They showed elevated levels of thallium, a poison that mimics cancer symptoms. No doctor would have tested for it specifically unless they suspected poisoning. Vincent remembered Diana's mysterious illness. The way she had wasted away, her once vibrant spirit fading until there was nothing left but a shell of the woman he had loved. The memory stirred a deep, burning anger within him. Vincent watched the video in stunned silence as Helen detailed her plans to murder him and Melissa. The cold, calculated way she spoke sent chills down his spine. How did you get this? He asked when the video ended. I bugged their meeting place. Illegal, I know, but I needed evidence. And Dominic agreed to help me after this. He did not know I was recording. I confronted him with it afterward, told him I'd go to the police unless he helped me catch Helen in the act. Melissa's expression hardened. He was afraid of prison. More afraid of that than of Helen. Vincent studied his stepdaughter. The young woman before him was a stranger in many ways. Calculating, ruthless, willing to break the law to protect what was hers. But he recognized those qualities. They were the same ones that had made him successful, that had allowed him to build his empire. What's your plan now? He asked. Helen will wake up eventually. When she does, she'll claim we attacked her, that we fabricated everything. It will be her word against ours. And Dominic's, Vincent reminded her. Dominic is unreliable. A criminal with self-interest as his only guiding principle. If Helen gets to him somehow, offers him something better than what we can, Vincent nodded slowly. Then we need to make sure she does not wake up in a position to threaten us. Melissa's eyes widened slightly. What are you suggesting? Nothing yet, Vincent said, his voice steady. But Helen Mercer, or whatever her real name is, has taken enough from this family. I would not let her take anything more. Later that night, Vincent sat alone in his study, reviewing everything Melissa had told him. The pieces fit together logically, but something still bothered him. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. Russell? Vincent Barrett. I need you to dig deeper into Melissa's activities over the past 6 months. I need to know everything. Every call, every text, every email. Leave no stone unturned. And be discreet. I do not want anyone to know about this. Especially not Melissa. I need to be sure. I need to know the truth. Bank records, phone logs, everything. Do not tell Calvin. He paused. And I need information on Diana's last days. Who was with her, what medications she was taking, who prescribed them. After hanging up, Vincent stared at the wedding photo taken just yesterday. Helena's smile, once beguiling, now seemed predatory. How had he not seen it? The answer was simple. He had seen what he wanted to see. A second chance at happiness. A distraction from the cold emptiness Diana's death had left behind. Never again, he promised himself. Never again would Vincent Barrett allow emotion to cloud his judgment. From now on, he would trust no one completely, not even Melissa. Helen Mercer Barrett lay unconscious in the secure ward of Philadelphia General Hospital, machines monitoring her vital signs. Outside her room, an officer sat reading a newspaper. Inside, Vincent watched her breathe. The doctors say the swelling in her brain is decreasing, said a voice from the doorway. Dr. Abigail Winters, the neurologist handling Helen's case, entered the room. She could regain consciousness any day now. And when she does? Vincent asked. It's impossible to predict the extent of cognitive damage until she wakes up. She could be perfectly lucid, or she might have significant memory loss. Vincent nodded. Thank you, doctor. After Dr. Winters left, Vincent leaned closer to Helena's still form. I know you can hear me, he whispered. I know you in there plotting your next move. but you've underestimated what I'm willing to do to protect what's mine. A soft knock at the door interrupted him. Detective Patel entered, her expression giving nothing away. Mr. Barrett? Visiting hours ended 30 minutes ago. I'm her husband, Detective. I'm allowed to stay. Patel moved to stand on the opposite side of Helena's bed. Preliminary toxicology reports from your first wife's exhumation show elevated levels of thallium, consistent with long-term poisoning. Vincent felt a cold satisfaction. So you believe me now? It supports your account, yes, but it raises new questions. Patel studied him. For instance, how did your stepdaughter know to test Diana's hair for thallium poisoning specifically? You'd have to ask Melissa that. I intend to, along with how she managed to obtain samples from 6 years ago, Patel said, watching him. Vincent met her gaze evenly. My daughter is extremely thorough, Detective. When she suspects something, she investigates thoroughly. A quality she inherited from her mother. Patel nodded thoughtfully. We also found something interesting in Ms. Barrett Mercer's hotel room. A journal detailing her relationship with you and someone else. A lover who was helping her. Dominic Sawyer. We've already told you about him, Vincent replied. No, not Mr. Sawyer. The journal mentions someone referred to only as him. Someone who approached Helen with the idea of targeting you specifically. Patel watched Vincent's reaction closely. Someone who provided personal details about your habits, your business, your family. Vincent's mind raced. Are you suggesting Helen had another accomplice? I'm suggesting the possibility that Helen Barrett Mercer may not have been the mastermind here. Patel moved toward the door. We'll be questioning Mr. Sawyer again tomorrow. Perhaps he can shed some light on who he might be. After Patel left, Vincent remained motionless, processing this new information. Could there be another player in this deadly game? Someone who had manipulated both Helen and Dominic? His phone vibrated with a text from Russell Nash. Found something. Meeting in 20. The usual place. The usual place was a bench in Fairmount Park overlooking the Schuylkill River. Vincent arrived to find the private investigator already waiting, a manila envelope in his hands. What did you find? Vincent asked, sitting beside him. Russell handed over the envelope. Bank transfers from an offshore account to both Helen Mercer and Dominic Sawyer, dating back 18 months. Substantial amounts. Vincent opened the envelope and scanned the documents. Who controls the account? That's where it gets interesting. The account was set up by a law firm that specializes in anonymity. But I managed to trace the origin of the initial deposit. Russell hesitated. Came from a trust fund. One that was established by you for Melissa on her 18th birthday. Vincent felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. That's impossible. That account requires dual authorization, mine and Calvin's, for any withdrawal. Not for the beneficiary. Once Melissa turned 18, she gained sole access. Russell pulled out another document. There's more. I looked into Diana's final days as you asked. Her primary nurse during home care was a woman named Margaret Sawyer. Sawyer? As in Dominic's mother? Yes, she died 3 years ago in a car accident. But before that, she worked for a home health care agency that specialized in terminal patients. Russell met Vincent's eyes. Including your first wife. Vincent's mind struggled to make sense of these connections. Could Melissa have known Dominic before Helen entered their lives? Could she have been involved in Diana's death somehow? One more thing, Russell said. I checked Melissa's phone records for the past year. Numerous calls to a burner phone that also received calls from Helen Mercer's phone. The burner was deactivated 2 days before your wedding. Vincent stood abruptly. I need to speak with Dominic Sawyer. The police have him in protective custody. Find out where. Use whatever contacts you have. Vincent's voice was steel. I need to speak with him before the police question him again. Russell nodded. I'll call you when I have something. Vincent drove home in a daze, the pieces rearranging themselves in his mind. If what Russell had discovered was true, the implications were staggering. Could Melissa have orchestrated everything? But why? He had to find out before things spiraled further beyond his control. The house was dark when he arrived. No sign of Melissa. Vincent went straight to his study and unlocked the hidden safe behind his grandfather's portrait. A safe whose existence only he and Diana had known about. Inside was a flash drive containing Diana's personal files, which he had preserved after her death, but never had the heart to examine. Now he plugged it into his computer and began searching through years of emails, documents, and photos. Hours passed as he dug deeper into his dead wife's digital life. And then he found it. A folder labeled simply insurance. Password protected with a phrase only Diana would know. Violet eyes. The pet name she had called Melissa because of her unusual eye color. Inside the folder were documents that made Vincent's blood run cold. Medical records showing that Diana had been slowly poisoned over months. Not with thallium as Melissa had claimed, but with arsenic. Photos of Diana with a young man who looked remarkably like a teenage Dominic Sawyer. And most damning of all, a video file. Vincent clicked play with shaking hands. The video showed Diana, already gone from illness, speaking directly to the camera. Vincent, if you re-watching this, I'm gone, and you finally started asking the right questions. I wanted to believe it was just teenage rebellion that she would grow out of it. But Melissa's obsession with you has become dangerous. The jealousy, the manipulation. I found evidence that she's been poisoning my food. Small amounts, not enough to kill quickly, but enough to make me sick over time. I confronted her and she denied it, of course. But then things got worse. I'm not going to survive this, and I need you to know the truth. Melissa is not the daughter you think she is. The video cut off abruptly. Vincent stared at the screen in shock, his world collapsing around him. Could it be true? Had Melissa murdered her own mother out of some twisted jealousy? And then orchestrated this elaborate scheme with Helen too, to what? What was the endgame? The sound of the front door opening jolted him back to reality. He quickly ejected the flash drive and slipped it into his pocket. Dad, are you home? Melissa's voice called from the foyer. Vincent took a deep breath, composing his features into a neutral expression before responding. In my study. Melissa appeared in the doorway, her face tense. Detective Patel called me in for questioning tomorrow morning. She mentioned some journal of Helen's. Yes. She told me about it at the hospital. Apparently, Helen wrote about an accomplice called M. Vincent watched carefully for Melissa's reaction. A flicker of something, surprise, fear, crossed her face before she controlled it. That's ridiculous. I've never worked with that woman. She killed my mother. Did she? Vincent asked quietly. The police found arsenic in your mother's remains, just as you predicted. They also found evidence of bank transfers from an offshore account to both Helen and Dominic, dating back 18 months. Substantial amounts. Melissa's eyes widened in feigned shock. What are you talking about? I do not know anything about that. Really? Because the account was set up using funds from the trust you inherited on your 18th birthday. The same trust that requires dual authorization for any withdrawal unless it's the beneficiary making the request. Melissa's face paled, but she quickly recovered. That's impossible. I would never do something like that. Would not you? Vincent's voice was cold. Because I have a video of your mother, Melissa. A video where she accuses you of poisoning her. Of manipulating me. Of being obsessed with me in a dangerous way. Melissa's eyes flashed with anger. You lying. She would never say that about me. She loved me. She did love you, Melissa. But she also knew the truth. And now so do I. Vincent stood, his voice steady and unyielding. I need to know everything. I need to know why you did this. Why you orchestrated all of this. And I need to know now. Interesting that you knew exactly what poison to look for. Melissa's expression hardened. What are you implying? Nothing yet. I'm just trying to understand how all the pieces fit together. Vincent stood. Why did not we continue this conversation tomorrow? It's been a long day. As Melissa left, Vincent pulled out his phone to find a text from Russell. Sawyer being held at central detention. Officer Lopez on duty tonight owes me a favor. You have 10 minutes at 2 a.m. At exactly 2 a.m., Vincent was escorted into an interrogation room where Dominic Sawyer sat handcuffed to the table. The young man looked up in surprise. Mr. Barrett? How did you? We do not have much time, Vincent interrupted. I need the truth. All of it. Who is him? Dominic paled. I do not know what you re talking about. Vincent leaned across the table. Helen's journal mentions an accomplice called him. Someone who approached her with the idea of targeting me. Someone who knew intimate details about my life. Helen's lying. She's trying to shift blame. Perhaps. But then there's the matter of the offshore account funding both you and Helen. An account traced back to my daughter's trust fund. Vincent watched realization dawn on Dominic's face. And your mother's connection to my first wife's care. Dominic looked away. My mother had nothing to do with this. But you did. You've known Melissa for years, have not you? Long before Helen entered the picture. Sweat beaded on Dominic's forehead. I see not. She'll hurt me if I talk. Who? Helen is unconscious in a hospital bed. Not Helen. Dominic's voice dropped to a whisper. Melissa. She's not who you think she is, Mr. Barrett. She's been planning this for years. Vincent felt a chill run through him. Planning what exactly? To get rid of anyone who comes between you two. First her mother, then Helen. Dominic leaned forward. Melissa approached me after my mother died. Said she knew what really happened to her. Showed me evidence that could implicate me in Diana Barrett's death. Evidence of what? That I helped poison Diana Barrett on Melissa's instructions. Forged medical records, photos of us together that I do not even remember taking. Dominic looked desperate. But I never met Melissa until 3 years ago. Whatever evidence she has was fabricated. So she blackmailed you into helping her set up Helen? Dominic nodded. Helen was the perfect target. Already a con artist looking for her next mark. Melissa fed her information about you. Suggested you as a potential husband. Then she pretended to oppose the marriage to make you want it more. And the flash drive? The confrontation. All part of her plan. Get Helen to incriminate herself on tape. Then take her out. With Helen gone, but legally your wife, Melissa thought you'd be devastated, vulnerable. Turn to her for comfort. Dominic's laugh was hollow. She's obsessed with you, Mr. Barrett. Not in a normal father-daughter way. Officer Lopez appeared at the door. Time's up. Vincent stood slowly, his mind racing. He left the interrogation room shaken to his core, the facts and suspicions swirling together, forming a picture he never wanted to see. One last question. The bottle Helen supposedly had in Melissa's room. Did it really contain poison? Dominic met his eyes. There was never any bottle. Melissa added that clip to the security footage. She's an expert at digital manipulation. As Vincent was escorted out, Dominic called after him. Watch your back, Mr. Barrett. You're the only one standing in her way now. Vincent sat in his car outside the detention center. Diana's final warning echoed in his mind. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture too horrific to contemplate but too clear to deny. Melissa, the girl he had raised as his own daughter, the child he had protected and nurtured, had orchestrated a years-long scheme of murder and manipulation. First Diana, then Helen. And if Dominic was to be believed, Vincent himself was the ultimate goal. But why? What could Melissa possibly want that she did not already have? His phone rang. Calvin Thorne. Vincent, where are you? I've been trying to reach you for hours. I needed some time to think, Vincent replied carefully. Well, while you've been thinking, things have been happening. Helen's awake. Vincent gripped the phone tighter. What? Since when? About an hour ago. Detective Patel called me immediately. Helen's claiming that Melissa attacked her, that the recording was edited to incriminate her. And they believe her? They re-investigating her claims. But that's not all. Melissa's disappeared. Vincent felt his heart rate accelerate. What do you mean, disappeared? She's not at the house, not answering her phone. The police want to pick her up for questioning this morning, but she was gone. Packed a bag, no note. I need to get to the hospital, Vincent said. Call Russell. Tell him to start tracking Melissa's movements. At Philadelphia General, Vincent found Detective Patel outside Helen's room, deep in conversation with Dr. Winters. Mr. Barrett, Patel said as he approached. Your timing is impeccable. Your wife has been asking for you. What's her condition? Vincent asked Dr. Winters. Remarkably good, considering the trauma. Some memory gaps around the assault itself, but otherwise cognitively intact. Patel studied Vincent. She's telling a very different story than the one you and your stepdaughter presented. I'd like to hear it from her directly, Vincent said. I thought you might. Just remember, this is now an active investigation. Anything said in that room could be used as evidence. Vincent nodded and entered the room. Helen lay propped up in bed, a bandage around her head. Her face was bruised, but her eyes were clear and focused. When she saw Vincent, she flinched. "Stay away from me," she whispered. Vincent remained by the door. "I'm not here to hurt you, Helen." "Like you did not hurt me before," she said, her voice trembling. "You and Melissa planned this together. The wedding, the setup, everything. That's not what happened, is it?" Vincent asked quietly. "Melissa attacked you from behind while you watched." Vincent approached the bed slowly. "Then explain why Diana's body contains thallium. Explain the video where you admit to killing her and planning to kill us both." "What video?" Helen's eyes filled with tears. "Whatever recording you have was manipulated. Melissa is an expert at that sort of thing." Helen reached for his hand. "Think about it, Vincent. Who benefits most from all this chaos? Not me. I'm lying in a hospital bed with police outside my door. Not Dominic, he's in jail. Only Melissa." Vincent withdrew his hand. "And what would Melissa's motive be? You tell me. You re the one who raised her." Helen's voice hardened. "But I've seen how she looks at you. How possessive she is. Did you know she threatened me the first time we met? Told me she'd destroy me if I tried to take you away from her." The conversation with Dominic replayed in Vincent's mind. "She's obsessed with you, Mr. Barrett. Not in a normal father-daughter way." "If what you re-saying is true," Vincent said carefully, "then Melissa orchestrated all of this, including our marriage." "Yes, that's what I've been trying to tell the police. She wanted me discredited, imprisoned, or dead, leaving you vulnerable and dependent on her." Helen leaned forward. "Ask yourself who identified the poison in Diana's body, who provided the evidence against me, who disappeared as soon as I regained consciousness." Vincent's phone vibrated with a text from Russell. "Found her. Lake House. Coming alone." The lake house, a property Vincent owned in the Poconos, used primarily in the summer. A property not listed in any of his public assets. "I need to go," he told Helen abruptly. "Vincent, wait. You see, not leave me here. When Melissa realizes I'm awake and talking, the police are outside your door. You re-safe." Vincent moved to leave, then paused. "One question. The journal that mentions an accomplice called M. Did you write it?" Helen frowned. "What journal?" "I do not keep a journal." Vincent nodded, having expected that answer. "Get some rest, Helen. We'll talk again soon." In the hallway, Detective Patel intercepted him. "Leaving so soon? I have business to attend to." "What did she tell you?" Vincent considered his options carefully. If Helen was telling the truth, then Melissa was dangerous and potentially planning her next move. If Dominic was telling the truth, the same conclusion applied. But if they were both lying, if this was all an elaborate conspiracy against him, then revealing Melissa's location could put her in danger. "Nothing I did not already know," he said finally. "Helen claims innocence, blames Melissa for everything, including Diana's death." Patel nodded. "A convenient narrative. And yet, the physical evidence supports your original story. The poison in Diana Barrett's body matches what was found in the bottle from the security footage." Vincent's mind raced as he walked away, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He needed to confront Melissa to get to the truth once and for all. But he also needed to be careful. Melissa was cunning, manipulative, and now potentially dangerous. He could not underestimate her, not again. He had to be smart, had to be one step ahead of her. He had to end this once and for all. The recording of Helen's confession, while potentially edited, contains voice patterns consistent with natural speech rather than digital manipulation. "So you believe us now?" "I believe the evidence points more strongly to Helen's guilt than to a conspiracy between you and your stepdaughter." Patel stepped closer. "But I also believe there's something you re not telling me. Somewhere you re about to go in a hurry." Vincent met her gaze steadily. "My daughter is missing, Detective. Can you blame me for wanting to find her before Helen's accomplices do? And do you know where she is?" "I have ideas. Places she might go to feel safe." Patel seemed to weigh her options before responding. "Find her, Mr. Barrett. But bring her in. Do not take matters into your own hands." The drive to the Poconos took nearly 2 hours, giving Vincent ample time to consider his approach. If Melissa had indeed orchestrated everything, confronting her directly could be dangerous. But he needed answers, needed to know if the girl he had raised as his daughter was capable of such elaborate, ruthless manipulation. The lake house stood isolated among snow-covered pines, its windows dark. Vincent parked some distance away and approached on foot, staying within the tree line. Through binoculars, he could see a single set of fresh footprints leading to the front door and Melissa's car parked in the carport. As he neared the house, the sound of a vehicle approaching made him pause. A black SUV with tinted windows pulled up beside Melissa's car. The driver's door opened and Russell Nash stepped out, looking around cautiously before approaching the house. Vincent frowned. He had not expected Russell to arrive for another hour at least. And why had not he called to confirm he'd found Melissa? Drawing his gun, a precaution he'd taken before leaving Philadelphia, Vincent moved closer, keeping to the shadows. Russell knocked on the front door, his hand inside his jacket in a way that suggested he was also armed. The door opened and Melissa appeared. Instead of surprise or alarm at seeing Russell, she smiled and stepped aside to let him in. The door closed behind them. Vincent crept to a window on the side of the house, peering through a gap in the curtains. Melissa and Russell stood in the living room conversing intensely. There was no sign of threat or coercion. They looked like collaborators, not adversaries and captive. Straining to hear, Vincent caught fragments of their conversation. What exactly is planned? Russell was saying. Barrett suspected nothing. And Helen? Melissa replied, awake and pointing fingers, just as we expected. The journal was a nice touch. Melissa laughed, a sound that chilled Vincent to the bone. Vincent always did have a weakness for puzzles. Give him enough pieces and he'll assemble whatever picture we want him to see. Speaking of Vincent, Russell said, glancing at his watch. He should be on his way here now. Good. Everything's prepared. Vincent's hand tightened around his gun as he realized he was walking into a carefully laid trap. Every detail, every twist had been orchestrated by the two people he trusted most. He needed to decide whether to confront them now or retreat and regroup. For the first time in years, Vincent felt truly uncertain of his next move. Once he arrives, a floorboard creaked beneath Vincent's foot, cutting off Melissa's words. Both figures inside tensed, looking toward the window. Vincent ducked down, heart pounding. He needed to retreat, rethink his approach. If Melissa and Russell were working together, the situation was even more complex than he'd imagined. As he backed away from the house, a twig snapped behind him. Vincent whirled, gun raised, to find Detective Patel standing there, her own weapon drawn. Lower your weapon, mister. Barrett, she said quietly. Detective, how did you? I had your car tagged after our conversation at the hospital. Suspected you knew more than you were telling me. Her eyes flicked to the house. Is she in there? Vincent nodded. With Russell Nash, my private investigator. They were working together. Patel's expression remained neutral. I need you to return to your car. Wait there while I call for backup. You do not understand. They were expecting me. They set some kind of trap. All the more reason for you to stay back. Patel gestured with her gun. Go. Now. This is a police matter. Reluctantly, Vincent began backing away. As he did, the front door of the lake house opened and Melissa stepped onto the porch, Russell behind her. Dad, Melissa called, her voice carrying through the cold air. I know you're out there. We need to talk. Vincent froze. Patel gestured again, more urgently for him to leave. It's important. Dad, Melissa continued, about Mom, about what really happened to her. The mention of Diana made Vincent hesitate. Patel took advantage of his momentary distraction to move between him and the house, her gun now trained on Melissa and Russell. Philadelphia PD, she called out. Hands where I can see them. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. Russell reached inside his jacket. Patel shouted a warning. A gunshot echoed through the trees, but not from Patel's weapon. Vincent felt a searing pain in his shoulder, spinning him around. As he fell, he caught a glimpse of a figure among the trees, Dominic Sawyer holding a rifle. More gunshots followed. Vincent, lying in the snow, saw Patel return fire toward Dominic's position. On the porch, Russell pulled Melissa back into the house as bullets splintered the wood around them. The world began to fade at the edges of Vincent's vision. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was Melissa's face at the window, watching him with an expression of cold calculation. Vincent Barrett opened his eyes to the steady beep of a heart monitor and the antiseptic smell of a hospital room. For a disorienting moment, he thought he was visiting Helen again, but the pain in his left shoulder quickly reminded him of what had happened at the lake house. Welcome back, Mr. Barrett. Detective Patel sat in a chair beside his bed, a bandage visible on her forearm. Melissa gone, along with Russell Nash and Dominic Sawyer. Patel helped him adjust the bed. After you were shot, I exchanged fire with Sawyer. Got him in the leg, I think, but he managed to escape. When backup arrived, the house was empty. How did Dominic get out of police custody? He never was in custody, not officially. We found Officer Lopez unconscious in the supply closet at Central Detention. No record of Sawyer ever being processed. Vincent's mind raced. So the meeting at the detention center was staged. Probably to feed me whatever story they wanted me to believe. Patel leaned forward. Which brings me to my question. What exactly did Dominic tell you that night? Vincent recounted the conversation, watching Patel's expression grow increasingly troubled. So according to this man claiming to be Dominic Sawyer, Melissa orchestrated everything. Diana's death, Helen's set up, all of it because of some obsession with you. Patel sounded skeptical. And you believed him? I did not know what to believe, Vincent admitted. That is why I went to the lake house. To ask Melissa directly. And instead, you found her consorting with your private investigator, discussing some trap they'd set for you. Patel shook her head. This gets more convoluted by the hour. What about Helen? Is she still under guard? MS. Barrett Mercer checked herself out of the hospital yesterday against medical advice. We have an officer following her, but legally we could not prevent her from leaving. Vincent tensed. She's out there with Melissa and the others still at large. We re-monitoring the situation. Patel stood. In the meantime, I've stationed an officer outside your door. When you re-discharged, I'd recommend you stay somewhere secure until we locate all parties involved. After Patel left, Vincent lay back, trying to make sense of the tangled web of betrayal surrounding him. Everyone close to him was implicated. Melissa, Helen, Russell, even Diana, if her final recording was to be believed. Who could he trust? The answer came in the form of Calvin Thorne, who arrived an hour later looking haggard but determined. You look terrible, Vincent observed as Calvin settled into the visitor's chair. Spending the last 48 hours trying to untangle this mess will do that to a man, Calvin said, running a hand over his face. I've been cooperating with Detective Patel, reviewing all the evidence. It's disturbing, Vincent. Tell me. Calvin hesitated. Are you sure you re-up for this now? You've just been shot. I need to know what we re-dealing with. All right? Calvin pulled out a tablet. First, Russell Nash is not who he claimed to be. The real Russell Nash died 3 years ago. Whoever you hired has been using a stolen identity. And you vetted him for me. Vincent said quietly, I did. His credentials seemed impeccable. I missed it and I'm sorry. What else? Diana's medical records from her final months show irregularities. Medications prescribed but never administered. There are also discrepancies in the nursing notes. Some entries appear to have been altered or forged. And the nurse who was primarily caring for Diana, Margaret Sawyer, she died in a car accident 3 years ago. Her son, Dominic, has been living off the grid since then, no known employment or residence. It's like he vanished. Until now. Vincent's mind raced. So Dominic could be telling the truth about Melissa. About her involvement in Diana's death. Or it could be another layer of deception, Calvin countered. We not trust anything until we have concrete evidence. And speaking of evidence, the toxicology report on Diana's exhumed body showed elevated levels of arsenic, not thallium. The same arsenic found in the bottle from the security footage. But the arsenic in the bottle was a different compound, one that's not typically used in poisonings. It's almost like someone wanted us to find it to point the finger at Helen. Vincent's head was pounding. So Melissa could be framing Helen, or Helen could be framing Melissa. Or both could be working together to frame me. Or none of it could be true and we all being manipulated by someone else entirely. Calvin nodded grimly. Exactly. And until we have more information, we not rule out any possibilities. But there's one more thing. The prenup you signed, the one with the altered terms. The original document was digitally altered, but the alterations were done by someone with access to your home office. Someone who knew your passwords, your security codes. Someone close to you. Vincent's blood ran cold. Melissa. Or Helen, Calvin pointed out. Or even someone working with them. We need to consider every angle, Vincent. Because whoever is behind this, they re-smart, they re-patient, and they re-always one step ahead. Treatments documented but never performed. Calvin looked up. And Melissa's trust fund, the one supposedly used to finance Helen and Dominic, does not exist. At least, not in the form described by Russell. Vincent frowned. What do you mean? I've managed all your financial affairs for 15 years, Vincent. I would know if Melissa had access to the kind of money needed to finance this operation. Calvin's voice hardened. Someone went to great lengths to create a paper trail implicating Melissa while simultaneously setting up an entirely different trail implicating Helen. So both stories could be fabrications. Exactly. Which means someone else might be orchestrating everything. Someone who wants you to distrust both Melissa and Helen. Vincent considered this possibility. Or Melissa and Helen are working together, creating mutual suspicion as cover for their real plan. Possible, but unlikely given their mutual animosity. Calvin set down the tablet. I've taken the liberty of securing a safe house for you upon discharge. No one knows about it except me and the security team I've personally vetted. Thank you, Calvin. But before I go into hiding, there's something I need you to do. Vincent described Diana South Flash Drive and the video it contained. It's in my study safe. I need to know if that recording is genuine or another fabrication. Calvin promised to retrieve the drive and have it analyzed by experts. Before leaving, he hesitated at the door. Vincent, whoever is behind this has gone to extraordinary lengths to isolate you from everyone you trust. Be careful who you let close. Including you? Vincent asked with a grim smile. Calvin nodded solemnly. Including me. 3 days later, Vincent was discharged from the hospital. Following Calvin's security protocol, he was transported to a penthouse in a building owned by one of his shell corporations. The space was luxurious but fortress-like, with bulletproof windows and state-of-the-art security systems. As night fell on his first day there, Vincent stood at the window overlooking the city, his arm in a sling. Somewhere out there, the people who had tried to destroy him were plotting their next move. But Vincent Barrett had not built his empire by being passive. It was time to go on the offensive. His secure phone, provided by Calvin, rang from an unmarked number. Hello, Vincent. Helen's voice. Do not hang up. I need your help. Vincent's grip tightened on the phone. Give me one reason why I should help you. Because I can deliver Melissa and her conspirators to you. Helen sounded desperate. They re-hunting me, Vincent. Russell Nash cornered me yesterday. If Calvin's security team had not arrived when they did, how did you get this number? Calvin gave it to me. He's been helping me stay ahead of them. Vincent frowned. Calvin had not mentioned any contact with Helen. Why would they be hunting you if you re-working with them? I'm not. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Melissa set me up from the beginning. Helen's voice broke. I admit I'm not innocent. I've done things in my past I'm not proud of, but I never poisoned Diana and I never planned to hurt you or Melissa. The confession on tape was edited from multiple conversations. Voice manipulation software is remarkably advanced these days. Helen paused. Vincent, I know you have no reason to trust me, but right now we're both targets of the same people. What do you want from me? A meeting. Just you and me. No police. No Calvin. No security. I have evidence that will make everything clear. She named a location, a public park in Center City. Tomorrow at noon. Come alone. Or I'll disappear and you'll never know the truth. After Helen hung up, Vincent called Calvin immediately. Did you give Helen my secure number? A pause. No. That number is known only to me and Detective Patel. Helen just called me on it. Said you've been helping her evade Russell and the others. Vincent, I have not spoken to Helen since before the lake house incident. Calvin's voice was tight with concern. This is a trap. They were trying to lure you out. Or Helen really does have information and someone wants to prevent her from sharing it. Vincent made a decision. I'm meeting her tomorrow, but not alone and not without precautions. The following day, Vincent arrived at the designated park 15 minutes early, accompanied by 2 plainclothes security professionals from Calvin's team. Detective Patel had been informed of the meeting, but agreed to maintain distance unless signaled. Vincent sat on a bench overlooking a small pond, scanning the area constantly for signs of threat. At precisely noon, a young woman in a red coat approached and sat beside him. Mr. Barrett, she said quietly. Ms. Mercer sent me. She could not come herself, it was not safe. Who are you? Audrey Mercer. Helen's sister. The young woman looked nothing like Helen. Her features were softer, her manner more hesitant. Helen asked me to give you this. She handed over a small USB drive similar to the one Melissa had given him. What's on it? Vincent asked. The truth about who's really behind everything. Audrey glanced around nervously. Helen said to tell you she's going to Brookhaven. She'll wait for you there for 3 days. Brookhaven? What does that mean? I do not know. It's just the message she gave me. Audrey stood. She also said to warn you about Calvin. He's not who you think he is. As Audrey walked away, Vincent inserted the drive into a secure tablet one of the security team had brought. A single video file appeared. Vincent played it, his expression hardening as he watched. The video showed Helen in what appeared to be a hotel room speaking with Calvin Thorne. The timestamp indicated it was from 6 months ago, before Vincent had even met Helen. Is everything in place? Calvin was asking. Yes. Vincent Barrett would not know what hit him. Helen's laugh was cold. By the time we refinished, his precious company, his reputation, everything he values will be mine. And you'll have your share, of course. And the stepdaughter? She could be a problem. Melissa? She's been taken care of. The evidence we've planted will ensure she's seen as the mastermind behind everything. Vincent will never trust her again. What about Diana's recording? A masterpiece of digital manipulation, if I do say so myself. She never suspected a thing before she died. Helen smiled. Per Vincent. He'll never know it was his trusted friend who orchestrated his destruction. The video ended. Vincent sat frozen, his world shifting once again. Calvin, his oldest friend, his most trusted advisor, had betrayed him, had been plotting his downfall for months, possibly years. His phone rang. Speak of the devil. Calvin, Vincent answered, keeping his voice neutral. Vincent, our analysts have examined Diana's recording. It's been tampered with. Extensively. Is that so? Yes. Whoever created it used sophisticated AI to generate Diana's voice, saying things she never actually said. The video itself is compiled from multiple sources. Calvin sounded genuinely disturbed. Someone went to extraordinary lengths to make you distrust Melissa. And what about Helen? The confession Melissa recorded also manipulated, but more subtly, actual statements taken out of context and reassembled. Calvin paused. Vincent, I'm starting to think everyone in this scenario has been played against each other by some unseen puppet master. An interesting theory. Vincent watched as Detective Patel approached the park, having been signaled by one of his security team. Calvin, I need to go. We'll talk later. Vincent handed the tablet to Detective Patel, who watched the video in grim silence. Thorne has been orchestrating this from the beginning? She asked when it finished. Apparently. But at this point, I do not know what to believe anymore. Vincent described his conversation with Calvin. Everyone is accusing everyone else. Every piece of evidence is supposedly fabricated. There's one way to cut through all this, Patel said. Bring all the players together in one place. Force a confrontation where the truth has nowhere to hide. And how do we do that? Melissa, Russell, and Dominic are in the wind. Helen is supposedly waiting for me at some place called Brookhaven. And now Calvin appears to be implicated as well. Brookhaven? Patel's expression changed. That's not a place, Mr. Barrett. It's a code name. When I was investigating Helen's background, it appeared in some of her communications. I believe it refers to a contingency plan, a final move in whatever game she's playing. Vincent stood, decision made. Then that's where I need to go. Wherever Brookhaven is, it seems to be the center of this web. You realize this could be another trap? Almost certainly. But I'm tired of being manipulated, Detective. It's time to force their hand. Patel nodded slowly. I'll need to bring in my superiors on this. We'll monitor the situation closely. Do what you need to do. Vincent turned to leave, then paused. If I do not come back or contact you within 48 hours, presume the worst. And make sure everyone involved is brought in for questioning. No one is above suspicion anymore. Patel met his eyes. Be careful, Vincent. For your own sake. He offered a thin smile. I do not intend to let anyone set the final terms of the story but me. With every step away from that park bench, Vincent steeled himself for whatever awaited at Brookhaven, the last move in a deadly game where trust and truth were luxuries no one could afford. There's one person we have not considered in all this, Audrey Mercer. Helen's supposed sister. Supposed? I've never heard Helen mention a sister before today. And the woman looked nothing like her. Patel's eyes widened slightly. Give me a description. After Vincent described Audrey, Patel pulled out her phone and showed him a photograph. Is this her? Vincent stared at the image of the young woman he'd just met. Yes. Who is she? Margaret Sawyer. Dominic's mother. Patel put away her phone. Who is supposedly dead? The pieces were rearranging themselves yet again. If Margaret Sawyer was alive and posing as Helen's sister, it suggested an even deeper conspiracy than Vincent had imagined. I need to find Brookhaven, he said. Now. Brookhaven is not a place, Calvin insisted over the phone. It's a protocol and emergency contingency plan we established years ago in case Barrett Construction ever faced a hostile takeover attempt. Vincent, sitting in the back of a secure vehicle with Detective Patel, exchanged glances with her. He had decided not to confront Calvin directly about the video, needing to maintain the illusion of trust until he understood the full scope of the betrayal. Explain, he said simply. In the event of a corporate emergency, key assets would be temporarily transferred to a shell company called Brookhaven Holdings. It's never been activated, but the infrastructure is in place. Calvin paused. If Helen knows about Brookhaven, she had access to inside information about your company's emergency protocols. Or she's working with someone who did, Vincent replied, watching Patel pull up information on her tablet. Brookhaven Holdings, she said. Registered 5 years ago with an address at 4200 Riverside Drive. Vincent frowned. That's the Riverside Tower project, my company's current development. The building is still under construction, is not it? Patel asked. The main structure is complete. Interior work is ongoing. Vincent's mind raced. Helen's design firm was contracted for the interior, giving her legitimate access to the building even after hours. Patel was already dialing. I'll have a tactical team meet us there. No, Vincent said sharply. If this is a trap, a show of force could escalate the situation. Besides, we do not know who we can trust among your colleagues. Patel hesitated, then nodded. Just my partner and 2 officers I personally trust. They maintain perimeter surveillance only. Agreed. Vincent turned back to the phone. Calvin, I need you to activate the Brookhaven protocol. Make it look legitimate. Papers filed, transfers initiated, the works. Vincent, are you sure? Once started, the process takes time to reverse. I'm sure Helen wants Brookhaven activated for some reason. Let's see what happens when she gets her wish. After ending the call, Vincent sat back, trying to anticipate what awaited them at Riverside Tower. Patel watched him with a calculated expression, a mix of wariness, determination, and hope that the truth was finally within reach. Even as the city skyline approached and the unfinished tower loomed on the horizon, Vincent harbored no illusions that the night would deliver easy answers. But at least, for the first time, every key player in this deadly game was converging on one place, the heart of Brookhaven, where all secrets would finally have to face the light. Helen's smile was cold. Or was it just another Barrett cover-up? This building, Vincent, is a monument to your family's legacy of deceit. And tonight, it becomes the stage for your final act. Patel's grip tightened on her weapon. What are you talking about, Helen? Helen gestured to the blueprints. Look closely. See the markings? Those are the locations of the old chemical storage tanks. The ones that were supposedly removed and disposed of safely. But they still here, buried beneath our feet. And they leaking again. Vincent's mind raced. That's impossible. The site was cleared decades ago. Is it, Vincent? Helen's voice was laced with venom. Or is it just another lie to protect the Barrett name? This building was always meant to be your downfall. A symbol of your family's corruption hidden in plain sight. Patel stepped forward, her voice steady. And what's your role in all this, Helen? The puppet master pulling the strings, or just another pawn in this twisted game? Helen laughed, a sound that echoed eerily through the empty space. A little of both, detective. I was hired to ensure this project went according to plan. To make sure Vincent Barrett got exactly what he deserved. But along the way, I found myself enjoying the performance a little too much. Vincent's blood ran cold. Who hired you, Helen? Before she could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed from the stairwell. Melissa emerged, flanked by Russell and Dominic, all of them armed. Behind them, Calvin Thorne appeared, his expression unreadable. Well, is not this cozy? Melissa said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. The whole family together at last. Patel's weapon never wavered, but her eyes flicked from one figure to another, assessing the threat. Drop your weapons, she commanded. All of you. No one moved. The tension in the room was palpable, a powder keg ready to explode. Vincent broke the silence. Calvin, what's going on? Why are you here? Calvin's gaze met Vincent's, and for a moment Vincent saw a flicker of something, regret, perhaps, or resignation. I'm here to make sure this ends, Vincent. One way or another. Melissa laughed, a sound that sent chills down Vincent's spine. Ends? This is just the beginning, Dad. The beginning of a new chapter for the Barrett family. A chapter where you're not in control. Helen stepped closer to Vincent, her voice low. You should have listened to Diana, Vincent. She tried to warn you about Melissa. About the darkness in her heart. But you were too blinded by your own pride, your own arrogance. Vincent's mind raced, trying to make sense of the tangled web of betrayal surrounding him. And what about you, Helen? What's your endgame in all this? Helen's smile was cold. Revenge, Vincent. Sweet, delicious revenge. For everything your family has taken from mine. For the lies, the deceit, the corruption that has defined the Barrett name for generations. Patel's voice cut through the tension. Enough. Drop your weapons. All of you. But no one moved. The standoff continued, each side waiting for the other to make the first move. The night was far from over, and the truth was still buried beneath layers of deceit and manipulation. As the wind howled outside, the stage was set for a final, deadly confrontation. Or did your father simply pay the right officials to look the other way? Helen unrolled a different set of plans. These are the original environmental impact studies. The ones that never made it to the EPA. Vincent glanced at the documents, recognizing his father's signature. Where did you get these? From Diana. Your first wife was quite the researcher, especially when it came to protecting her daughter from potential harm. Helen's expression hardened. She discovered these reports while investigating a cluster of rare cancers in this neighborhood. Cancers like the one that killed her. Patel moved closer, examining the documents. You suggesting Diana Barrett was researching Barrett Chemical when she became ill. Not just researching. She was building a case against Barrett Construction for knowingly developing contaminated land. Helen looked directly at Vincent. Land that was poisoning people. People like her. Vincent's mind reeled. That's impossible. Diana never mentioned any of this to me. Of course not. She knew you'd choose the company over the truth. Just like your father did. Helen's voice was bitter. She reached out to me for help. I was an environmental advocate then, before life forced me into less reputable work. The elevator chimed, interrupting their conversation. The doors opened to reveal Melissa, her expression cold as she stepped into the space. Behind her was Russell Nash, or whoever he really was. Well, this is cozy, Melissa said, taking in the scene. I see Helen's playing the victim card again. Melissa. Vincent studied his stepdaughter, searching for signs of the girl he had raised. Is it true? Was Diana investigating Barrett Chemical before she died? Melissa's eyes flickered to the blueprints. Yes. Mom was convinced the company was responsible for the cancer cluster in this area. She was gathering evidence for a class action lawsuit. And you never told me? She made me promise not to. She knew how you'd react. Melissa moved further into the room, maintaining distance from both Vincent and Helen. After she died, I continued her work. That's how I met Helen. Helen laughed harshly. Met me? Is that what you call it? You tracked me down and blackmailed me into helping you. After I discovered you'd used the information Mom shared to extort money from other companies instead of helping her expose the truth. Melissa turned to Vincent. Helen was never an interior designer, Dad. She was a con artist who specialized in corporate blackmail. When Mom realized what Helen was doing with her research, she threatened to expose her. So Helen poisoned her. Russell interjected, speaking for the first time. At least that's the story Melissa told me when she hired me to help set up Helen. Vincent looked between them, the pieces finally starting to align. You not Russell Nash? No, the name Paul Winters. Ex-FBI cybercrime specialist. He shrugged. Melissa offered me a lot of money to create digital evidence against Helen. Money from a fund Diana had set up before her death. The elevator chimed again. This time Calvin Thorne emerged, followed by a woman Vincent recognized as Audrey Mercer, Margaret Sawyer, and a young man who must be the real Dominic. I see everyone got the invitation, Calvin said, surveying the gathering. Though I'm a bit surprised to see you here, Vincent. I thought you'd have figured it out by now. Figured what out? Vincent asked, tension building as the players in this deadly game assembled. That there are no innocents in this room, Calvin replied. Every person here has blood on their hands, including you. Detective Patel, her weapon still drawn, moved to position herself so she could observe everyone. I think it's time someone told the whole truth. Starting with who really killed Diana Barrett. A moment of silence fell over the gathering. Then unexpectedly, Margaret Sawyer stepped forward. I did, she said simply. I administered the poison under Helen's direction. Small doses in Diana's food over months. Vincent felt as if he'd been struck. Why? What had Diana ever done to you? Nothing. But my son was dying. And Helen offered to pay for experimental treatment if I helped her. Margaret looked at Dominic, who stood pale and silent beside her. He had the same rare cancer that was affecting this neighborhood. The same cancer Diana was investigating. Helen hired you to kill Diana? Patel asked, seeking clarification. Not exactly. Margaret glanced at Helen, who nodded slightly. Helen approached me initially about helping gather evidence for Diana's lawsuit. I was a home health aide with access to multiple families in the affected area. But then Calvin Thorne offered me a different arrangement. All eyes turned to Calvin, who remained impassive. Barrett Construction stood to lose billions if Diana's lawsuit succeeded, Calvin said matter-of-factly. Not to mention the criminal charges your father would have faced had the truth about the chemical plant come to light. So you had Diana killed to protect the company? Vincent's voice was deadly quiet. I had Diana removed to protect you, Vincent. She was going to destroy everything your family had built. Calvin's expression softened slightly. I've spent my entire career safeguarding the Barrett legacy. I could not let her tear it down. Melissa stepped forward, trembling with rage. You murdered my mother to protect a corrupt company? And then let me believe Helen was responsible. Helen was responsible, Calvin countered. She took my money and arranged everything through Margaret. I merely provided the motivation and the funds. Helen shook her head. Do not try to minimize your role, Calvin. You threatened my life if I did not coordinate Diana's accident. You were the one who suggested using thallium to mimic cancer symptoms. And after Diana died, Melissa continued, her voice raw, you realized I was continuing her work. So you orchestrated this entire elaborate scheme to discredit me in Dad's eyes. Vincent's mind raced, trying to find a way out of the deadly stalemate. You re-bluffing. Patel, call your partner. Have them confirm. Patel hesitated, then slowly reached for her radio with her free hand. Dispatch, this is Detective Patel. I need confirmation on Officer Calvin's shot rang out, shattering the radio before Patel could complete the call. I'm afraid that would not be necessary, Detective. You see, I've taken precautions to ensure our privacy tonight. Patel's expression darkened, but she kept her weapon steady. You will not get away with this, Calvin. Too many people know the truth now. Calvin shrugged. Perhaps. But I've always been a gambler, Detective. And I'm willing to bet that by the time anyone realizes what's happened, it will be too late. Barrett Construction will be mine, and there will be nothing Vincent or anyone else can do to stop it. Vincent's grip tightened on his gun. You underestimate me, Calvin. I will not let you take what's mine. Calvin's smile was cold. You have no choice, Vincent. The transfer is already in progress. In a few minutes you'll be nothing more than a figurehead, a puppet dancing to my strings. Melissa, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. You will not get away with this, Calvin. I will not let you. Calvin's eyes flicked to her, his expression dismissive. You were in no position to threaten me, Melissa. You've played your part beautifully, but the show is over. It's time for the curtain to fall. Helen, standing near the windows, spoke up. Calvin, you were making a mistake. Vincent would not go down without a fight. You know him better than anyone. Calvin's gaze snapped to her. And whose side are you on, Helen? You've played both ends against the middle long enough. It's time to choose. Helen's smile was bitter. I choose the side that pays the most, Calvin. Always have, always will. But even I know when a deal is too risky. This is one of those times. The tension in the room was palpable, a powder keg ready to explode. Vincent knew he had to act fast, had to find a way to turn the tables on Calvin before it was too late. Calvin, Vincent said, his voice steady and calm. You right. I will not go down without a fight. But I also know when to cut my losses. Let's make a deal. Calvin's eyebrow raised. A deal? You were in no position to bargain, Vincent. Maybe not, Vincent conceded. But you were not the only one who's been planning for contingencies. I have insurance, Calvin. Insurance that will ensure Barrett Construction stays in my hands, no matter what happens here tonight. Calvin's expression darkened. What are you talking about? Vincent's mind raced, trying to buy time to find a way out of this deadly game. I'm talking about a fail-safe, Calvin. A fail-safe that will trigger if anything happens to me. A fail-safe that will expose everything, your involvement, Helen's, Margaret's, Paul's, Melissa's. Everything. Calvin's laugh was harsh. You re-bluffing. You do not have anything like that. Do I? Vincent countered. Are you willing to take that chance? Because if you are, then go ahead. Pull the trigger. But know this, if I fall, you fall with me. And so does everyone else in this room. The room fell silent, the weight of Vincent's words hanging heavy in the air. Calvin's expression was unreadable, but Vincent could see the uncertainty in his eyes. He had planted the seed of doubt, had given Calvin something to think about. But would it be enough to save them all? Or would the night end in a hail of gunfire, leaving nothing but blood and betrayal in its wake? Paul, whose real name was revealed to be Paul Winters, had been arrested and was awaiting trial for his role in the conspiracy. Melissa, despite her involvement, had been granted immunity for her cooperation in bringing down Calvin and exposing the truth about Barrett Construction. Vincent placed the violets on Diana's grave, their purple petals a stark contrast against the green grass. I'm sorry it took me so long to see the truth, Diana, he whispered. Sorry I let pride and ambition blind me to the corruption that had taken root in our family. But I see it now. And I promise you I'll make things right. He turned to find Melissa standing a few paces away, her eyes reflecting the same mix of sorrow and determination he felt. I'm glad you came, she said softly. Vincent nodded, gesturing to the grave. I owed her that much. And more. Melissa joined him, her voice barely above a whisper. I never wanted any of this, Dad. I just wanted to honor Mom's legacy, to finish what she started. But I let my anger and my grief consume me. I let it turn me into someone I'm not proud of. Vincent looked at her, seeing not the manipulative schemer he had believed her to be, but the young woman he had raised, flawed and hurting. We both made mistakes, Melissa. But it's not too late to make things right. Melissa met his gaze, tears welling in her eyes. I hope you can forgive me someday, Dad. For everything I've done, for the pain I've caused you. Vincent reached out, pulling her into a tight embrace. I already have, Melissa. We both have a lot of healing to do. But we'll do it together. As a family. As they stood there, the weight of their shared past and the promise of a brighter future hanging heavy in the air, Vincent knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. But he also knew that with Melissa by his side, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The sound of footsteps approaching interrupted their moment. Detective Patel came into view, her expression serious but kind. Vincent, Melissa. I'm glad I found you both here. Vincent turned to her, his voice steady. What is it, Detective? Patel took a deep breath. Calvin Thorne has been found dead in his cell. Suicide by all accounts. But there are some things you should know before the story hits the news. Vincent's expression darkened, but he nodded. Tell us. Patel recounted the details of Calvin's final hours, his desperate attempts to contact old allies, his frantic scribblings in his cell's notebook. He was trying to tie up loose ends, Vincent. Trying to ensure that Barrack Construction would fall even if it meant taking you down with it. Melissa's grip tightened on Vincent's arm. But you stopped him. Patel nodded. With your help, Vincent. The evidence you provided, the testimonies from Helen, Paul, and even Dominic, it was enough to dismantle the web of deceit Calvin had spun. Enough to clear your name and expose the truth about Barrack Construction. Vincent looked down at Diana's grave, a sense of peace washing over him. Then it's finally over. Patel's voice was gentle. Not quite. There's still the matter of the company, Vincent. The EPA is investigating the environmental impact of the Riverside Tower project. And the FBI is looking into the financial irregularities that Calvin orchestrated. But with your cooperation, I believe we can bring those responsible to justice. And ensure that Barrack Construction is held accountable for its past actions. Vincent met her gaze, his resolve unshakable. I'll do whatever it takes, Detective. Whatever it takes to make things right. For Diana. For Melissa. For the truth. As they stood there, the wind rustling the leaves above, Vincent knew that the battle was far from over. But he also knew that with the truth on his side and with Melissa by his side, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And he could finally truly honor the legacy of the woman who had loved him enough to warn him, to fight for him even from beyond the grave. But she had also saved his life, had stood by his side as they navigated the treacherous waters of betrayal and redemption. And in the end, was not that what family was about? Forgiving, healing, moving forward together? We rebuild, Vincent said, his voice steady and sure. We find a way to use the skills and resources we have to make a difference. To honor Diana's legacy, to honor the truth. Melissa's eyes shone with unshed tears. I like that, Dad. I like that very much. Vincent reached out, taking her hand in his. Then that's what we'll do. Together. As they stood there, the weight of their shared past and the promise of a brighter future hanging heavy in the air, Vincent knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. But he also knew that with Melissa by his side, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The press conference was a whirlwind of cameras, microphones, and intense scrutiny. Vincent stood at the podium, Melissa by his side, and recounted the sins of Barrack Construction. He spoke of the environmental impact studies that had been buried, the lives that had been ruined, the legacy of deceit that had defined his family's company for generations. We are here today to acknowledge our role in this tragedy, Vincent said, his voice steady and unyielding. To take responsibility for the harm we have caused. And to commit to a future where profit does not come at the expense of people's lives. The room was silent, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. Then slowly, the reporters began to ask their questions. Vincent answered them all, his honesty and sincerity disarming even the most skeptical among them. As the conference drew to a close, Vincent looked out at the sea of faces, seeing not just reporters but the families whose lives had been forever changed by Barrack Construction's greed. And he knew in that moment that he was doing the right thing. That he was finally, truly honoring the legacy of the woman he had loved, the woman who had tried to warn him, to protect him even from beyond the grave. After the press conference, Vincent and Melissa walked back to the Barrett estate, the weight of the day's events pressing down on them. As they entered the house, Vincent turned to Melissa, his expression serious. "There's something I need to tell you," he said. "Something I should have told you a long time ago." Melissa looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. "What is it, Dad?" Vincent took a deep breath, the words he had rehearsed in his mind 1,000 times suddenly feeling inadequate, insufficient. But he knew he had to say them, had to lay bare the truth that had been festering between them for too long. "I'm sorry, Melissa," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Sorry for not seeing the truth about your mother's death. Sorry for not believing you when you tried to warn me about Helen. Sorry for letting my pride, my arrogance, blind me to the corruption that had taken root in our family. And most of all, I'm sorry for not being the father you deserved. The father Diana would have wanted me to be." Melissa's eyes filled with tears, but she did not look away, did not turn from the pain in his voice. "I forgive you, Dad," she said softly. "I forgive you. And I love you. No matter what happens, no matter what challenges we face, I love you. And I always will." As they stood there, the weight of their shared past and the promise of a brighter future hanging heavy in the air, Vincent knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. But he also knew that with Melissa by his side, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And he could finally truly honor the legacy of the woman who had loved him enough to warn him, to fight for him even from beyond the grave. Melissa stood near the front, her expression proud and hopeful. For a moment, Vincent let himself simply look at her, the daughter of the woman whose integrity had set this all in motion and the partner who, through storm and fire, had become his greatest source of strength. This center exists because of the determination of one woman, my late wife, Diana Barrett, whose courage to pursue the truth ultimately saved countless lives and whose insistence on justice forced us all to reckon with the past, Vincent continued. It's also built on the hope that our mistakes, however grievous, can be transformed into something better. That legacy is not just what we leave, but what we choose to repair. The crowd listened, moved to silence as Vincent described the journey from corporate giant to humble advocate, the road from powerful reputation to genuine redemption. He spoke of the lessons learned, about transparency, about the cost of secrecy, about the pain and necessity of truth. He closed, "We can never undo the harm that was done. But with this center, with the research and care that will happen here, we can try to ensure fewer families suffer as we did. That is our promise. That is Diana's legacy." The applause was warmer now, no longer simply polite, but full of genuine respect. As the ceremony ended, Vincent stepped aside from the podium, feeling lighter than he had in years. Melissa joined him, slipping her arm through his. "She would have loved this," she said quietly, her eyes shining. Vincent smiled, placing his hand gently over hers. "She would have loved you." "I do." They watched as children in hospital gowns released balloons in the healing garden, their laughter echoing beneath the hopeful spring sky. Around them, life was moving forward, wounded, changed, but not defeated. As the crowd dispersed, Vincent found himself standing alone for a moment, breathing in the scent of new flowers and renewed purpose. For the first time since Diana's death, he felt truly at peace. Whatever might come, he knew he had finally chosen integrity, not power. Rebuilding instead of revenge. Redemption had come at a painful price. But as the sun brightened over the Diana Barrett Memorial Research Center, Vincent Barrett understood that from the ashes, something far better had been born, and he was at last ready to embrace it. Melissa asked, her voice softening slightly. "She has been cooperating with the prosecution, testifying against Calvin, providing evidence against Paul and the others. She is trying to make amends in her own way." Vincent's expression did not change. "Helen made her choices long before she ever crossed paths with us. She see not undo the harm she caused, just as Calvin see not. But unlike him, she seems willing to face the consequences of her actions." Melissa nodded, looking out at the garden. "She has been writing to me, apologizing, trying to explain. She says she never meant for any of this to happen, that she was just trying to survive in a world that had dealt her a bad hand." Vincent's voice was cold. "Her excuses mean nothing to me, Melissa. She played her part in this tragedy, and now she has to live with the consequences, just like the rest of us." Melissa turned back to him, her eyes searching his face. "And what about me, Dad? Have I lived with the consequences of my actions? Have I made amends for the things I did?" Vincent looked at her, seeing the sincerity in her eyes, the pain in her voice, and for a moment, he let himself consider the possibility that she had truly changed, that she had learned from the past and was now committed to a better future. "You've done more than most, Melissa," he said finally. "You've helped build the center, you've testified against Calvin, you've worked tirelessly to make things right. But the past is never truly behind us. Is it? We carry it with us, always. And we have to choose every day whether to let it define us or to move forward, despite it." Melissa reached out, taking his hand in hers. "I choose to move forward, Dad. With you. Together." Vincent looked down at their joined hands, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. Whatever the future held, whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that with Melissa by his side, he could face them. And he could finally, truly honor the legacy of the woman who had loved him enough to warn him, to fight for him, even from beyond the grave. As they stood there, the weight of their shared past and the promise of a brighter future hanging heavy in the air, Vincent knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult. But he also knew that with Melissa by his side, he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And he could finally, truly honor the legacy of the woman who had loved him enough to warn him, to fight for him, even from beyond the grave. "I've done terrible things, Mr. Barrett. Some for money, some out of desperation, many out of fear. I realize now there's a certain justice in the way things have turned out for me." Dominic's gaze moved to the research center, its shining facade catching the late sun. "But maybe what you've built here will tip the scales a little. Make the next Dominic Sawyer's life better than mine." Vincent nodded, the bitterness in Dominic's words not lost on him. That's the intent. This center, the foundation, they meant to make amends for all the harm we've done, knowingly or not. Dominic's hand trembled on the armrest. "Before I go, I wanted you to know, before all this, before Calvin, before Helen, before Melissa, your wife helped my mother once. Diana paid off our medical debts anonymously. My mother never forgot that kindness, even when times got hard and choices got darker." Surprise filled Vincent's face. "Diana never told me that." Dominic managed a weary smile. "She did not need to. She just did what she thought was right." After a moment, Vincent extended his hand. Dominic struggled, then took it, his grip surprisingly strong despite his frailty. "Thank you, Dominic, for your honesty." Dominic released his hand, closing his eyes with obvious effort. "Try to make the world a little better, Mr. Barrett, even when no one's watching." Vincent watched as the car pulled away, leaving him and Melissa standing together beneath the modern awning, the research center behind them alive with possibility. Inside, children played in waiting rooms. Scientists debated in glass-walled labs. Lives were being changed because one woman and one family chose the harder path of justice over comfort, of truth over secrecy. Melissa slipped her arm around Vincent's waist. "Are you all right?" He looked down at her, seeing both Diana and his own journey reflected in her steady gaze. "Let's go home, Melissa. There's still work to do." And as they walked away, Vincent felt, at last, a cautious hope take root. Redemption was not a gift but a choice, made daily, in memory and in action. For Diana, for Melissa, for all those who would come after. The last chapter was not an ending, but a beginning. "I made my choices." He handed Vincent a thumb drive. "This contains everything I know about Calvin's other operations. Other companies, other cover-ups. I thought the Foundation might find it useful." Vincent accepted the drive cautiously. "Why give this to me now?" "Because unlike the others, I never had a choice. My mother gave me one when she poisoned Diana to pay for my treatment, but I never asked for that sacrifice." Dominic's eyes were clear and direct. "I'm not seeking forgiveness, Mr. Barrett, merely the chance to do one right thing before the end." After Dominic's car pulled away, Vincent stood silently, the thumb drive heavy in his hand. "Will you use it?" Melissa asked, coming to stand beside him. "Yes," Vincent decided. "After our security team verifies the information, Diana's work would not be complete until all of the guilty parties face justice." As they entered the research center, Vincent caught sight of his reflection in the glass doors. Older now, harder in some ways, perhaps wiser in others. The past 2 years had stripped away everything he once valued. Wealth, status, business success. What remained was a man defined solely by his principles, his determination, and his capacity for both mercy and ruthlessness. The road ahead would continue to be difficult. There would be more battles, more revelations, more painful truths to confront. But Vincent Barrett had never shied away from difficulty. And now, with the ghosts of the past finally laid to rest, he could focus entirely on the future. A future where betrayal was punished without exception, where compromise was not an option, and where justice, however brutal, was the only acceptable outcome. Vincent Barrett may have lost his empire, but he had found something far more valuable: purpose. And heaven help anyone who stood in his way.